Well, thank you very, very much. Very the CBOS model. So I represent the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance, which is an organization made up of over 40% of the hospitality industry globally and a number of businesses in the value chain. And we've got some significant leaders who are part of the alliance who are on the stage right now. We'll share some positive examples about this idea of pre-competitive collaboration. I think we're welcome. We feel very welcome and honored to be part of this conversation. As the first panel really talked about the destination and those communities and the engagement that needs to happen with government and with business. And I think what we're here to talk about also is to really send a market signal to all the destinations that are out there around the world that the industry is ready for this. So you asked a great question, Dirk. Is the industry ready for this idea of bold statements around nature positive or net positive thinking? And it is no question that is happening right now. That the Alliance has formulated a philosophy around net positive hospitality, which is about giving back more to a destination than you take out. To being more contributor to the environment and to the community, to the people of those places that we have the privilege of working within. And so we want to be seen as an industry that is actually a contributor to the solutions as opposed to an extractor and a hindrance from coming up with that. And we have assembled here a fabulous, what I've been calling today, a very strong dream team of leaders in sustainability within the industry who, have shown that within their respective practices and within their businesses. And I really want to thank the UNWTO for having the industry be a part of this destination conversation, because there's no question we are at that critical tipping point right now where we have to make a difference. We heard that from the CBOS presentation. We've heard it from all the presentations this morning and throughout the afternoon. Time is running out. Industry recognizes that as well, and industry needs to come to the plate and be a part of the solution. So with that, we have some, like I say, some amazing people who will share things that are going on with their respective worlds. And I wanted to start off with JoAnna. And, MindClick has certainly been very, very engaged in construction and design of hotels, the materials that go into those hotels. Maybe give us some insight as to, that work that you do and what experiences that you see within the space.
Thank you, Glenn, and thanks to all of you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you, Dirk, for the invitation, and most of all, thank you all for the work each of you are doing every day in coming together to address this daunting challenge that we face. But it's amazing to see what happens when we can all collaborate together. So over 10 years ago, Arne Sorensen, the CEO of Marriott, set forth a vision to green the global supply chain. That's a really daunting vision, and those words were very carefully chosen. It wasn't to procure green products. It was to green the global supply chain. And in listening to the panel that spoke previously, destination leaders are making significant commitments to their locations to really reflect their values and their sustainability goals and the needs of the local community. And then what happens when a hotel operator comes in or an owner comes in that is looking at it from the perspective of they've got an ROI, they've got a specific CapEx budget that they've got to hit to build that hotel or to refurbish that hotel? And are they taking into account what your needs are from a local sustainability standpoint? And one of the biggest challenges is how do they access information about the products that they're choosing for that hotel that are in fact in alignment with the goals of that local community or that destination? In the built environment, many of you probably know that 40% of global carbon emissions come from the built environment itself. What I'm sure that most of you don't know is that when you factor in the renovation or refurbishment cycles that happen, in just 3 to 4 cycles, the impact of those interior furnishings from a carbon footprint standpoint is as great, if not greater, than the building envelope itself. So if we all just pause for a moment, that is enormously significant and something that we haven't thought much about, or there hasn't been much talk about. And yet renovating or refurbishing spaces is a core part of our industry. The term is you want to keep products will ugly out before they wear out, right? So there's a desire to keep a space looking fashionable and looking, with the most exciting elements that are going to draw the tourist in. So what we have developed with Marriott is a whole solution to evaluate the environmental and social impact of products throughout every stage of the product life cycle. We are looking at what are the material choices that have gone into the product, what are the chemicals that are being used, what's happening in manufacturing, because what happens in manufacturing, especially when we think about the energy that's used and the source of that energy, has a global impact. We all understand that, right? So what is local is global and vice versa. And then we move into things like packaging choices, distribution practices, and understanding of how those products can impact the hotel's own operational goals to reduce energy, conserve water, reduce waste. And then finally, circularity. What happens when it's time for that hotel to go through a renovation? Where do all those products end up? Can those products be taken back, reused, repurposed, and so on? So many of you have talked about this challenge of really engaging the communities, the local communities in all of this. Something very important to this whole journey is local sourcing. And it's not only the local sourcing of food, which is what everyone talks about, right? But what about the local artisans and the craftspeople that are in your communities that could very well be involved in refurbishing those case goods or creating those case goods, right? The biggest challenge that is faced is the economic challenge, right? How do you manage a CapEx budget and a limited timeline and the reliability of global vendors who have supplied these products historically, and find a balance between supporting that, but at the same time, bringing in the local artisans and the local manufacturers to support this?
Really complex, but it's amazing the tool that you've created to support the decisions that need to be made at the procurement side within the hospitality industry. And moving right into the hospitality side, Inge, you're a big leader in the Radisson group and quite frankly, in the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance and the work that we've done for a number of years. Maybe share with us the leadership work that's going on at Radisson in terms of sustainability and where you've taken things.
Yes, thank you, Glenn. And I must say that Radisson Hotel Group has been a member of SHA and its predecessors for almost 2 decades. So we definitely believe in collaboration, and you're doing a great job, Glenn. So with Radisson, we represent 1,100 hotels in 90 countries. So you can imagine it's quite a widespread, and I could talk for hours, but don't worry, I won't, about the excellent work that all our hotels are doing. I'll pick just 3 successes or 3 things we're working on. One is the net zero transformation. So it has been mentioned by the gentleman from TUI, it's been mentioned by many people. We have committed to be net zero by 2050, based on also approved science-based targets. So the path is clear to 2030 and to 2050. We just published our responsible business or our sustainability report today, so you can read all about it. We actually reduced our carbon emissions compared to pre-pandemic in 2019 by 18%. And we are going to work more on greening the buildings, introducing more renewable energy, and greening our operations. And we have defined a plan to do that in 25 of our core markets, so that that will help us reach our 2030 target. So that is actually, the path is clear, the transformation has to happen. The second point is to drive responsible tourism. Several people have said it so eloquently. It's actually, we need to engage our guests. They want to book responsibly, but they don't always do it. So how do we make it clear that they can be involved, what actions they can take, and that everything is trusted and transparent? And so we've worked together. We were one of the drivers, but we worked with SHA and other partners like WTTC on launching a standard, a label for essential hotel sustainability. It's called Hotel Sustainability Basics, and we are committing to verify all our hotels on that by the end of this year, small and big hotels, but not just us. It's really destinations around the world and other hotel partners who are doing this. And from that, we go on a path. We go on a path to being better than just 12 criteria, to maybe a full eco label, to net zero and to net positive, which is what Glenn was talking about. So engaging the guest is essential. We give our guests choices to use green housekeeping, to not use their towels every day. We know that that's a classic, but also to offset their carbon. We inform them about local food and the impact it has. And finally, all our meetings are carbon neutral around the world. So we make it easy. And then lastly, I would like to talk about what we do with talent, because our industry is a fantastic industry. You have ladders of opportunity, and we literally have people who started as a housekeeper and are now general managers or regional leaders. Those are fantastic stories, but we have a talent crunch. It's hard to attract and retain talent, so we focus on that. And with Radisson, we have been awarded for the second year as the 4th best employer globally in tourism and travel. And it wasn't even our doing, it's really a choice by Forbes. So, and that reflects how much we work on talent attraction, how much we are appreciated by our employees, how much we care about them, because our employees are the core of our business, more so than the buildings, although they are very important. And also it's about development. We have an academy where we offered, and our people in 70,000 employees around the world took 900,000 hours of training in 1 year. And also we are very inclusive in that, and we try to attract vulnerable groups of people in society. We integrated last year 800 young people, vulnerable young people. We gave them training and we integrated them in our hotels. And together with the SHA, we also launched a program on jobs for displaced people following the conflict in Ukraine. Yeah. So you can read more about it in our responsible business report, but I'll stop right here.
Yeah, but just picking up on that, just for a second though, on the last statement, do you find it easier to attract employees given the fact that you've come forward with very bold approaches to sustainability?
We know that young people care. The talent of today cares about it. I mean, they don't want to work for a company that doesn't have purpose. And it's not just expressing that purpose, but it's also practicing that purpose. They want to be involved. And we have a system. We build champions. We have champions. In each hotel, you have a responsible business champion who leads the team on responsible business in the hotel. And that champion can be doesn't have to be someone in leadership. It's really an opportunity for young talent to be seen, to be heard, to talk to their management, and great ideas come from them. So we have a top-down, but also a bottom-up approach, and it's important to attract talent.
Thank you. Sara, so you've got a very complex network within the Best Western family, a lot of independent operators across the country of Italy in this case. What tools and resources and techniques do you use to engage with all those independent operators to advance sustainability?
First of all, thank you, Glenn. Thank you to the organization for being here today and for sharing this kind of discussion. What I'm offering is the experience of a very unconventional hotel group made of independent hoteliers. That means that we work with single entrepreneur that needs to be convinced, that means to become conscious of the responsibility they have and of the role that they can play to a more sustainable hospitality. So the first aim, the first goal that we have to achieve is really an educational aim. After that is not sufficient. I mean, the way is not done unless we facilitate any step and we bring them with the end to really get solution to be more sustainable. To do that, first of all, we set an assessment that involves all the hotels on 5 different indicators complying with the GSTC criteria. So we assess the hotel, we see the gap and the steps they have to do to improve. And then after that, we suggest them the action to take that have to take place. That means that we provide the hotel agreement with the supplier, for example, to substitute plastic with other materials. We provide them a contract to be sure that each of our hotel have a rechargeable station for e-mobility. This year we focus our attention of the use of renewable energy. So we really provided them all tools to make it possible. Aside, let's say, the practical help, we even give help to incentive the change, because sometimes the change has a cost today, maybe as a saving in long terms, as a cost today. So they need a push. And as a brand, we decided to push them, giving them a discount in the brand fee they pay if they reach certain level of improvement and commitment in sustainable action. This is a kind of renounce that we did to our profit and loss, but it is just showing that the impact cares for the brand, and we care that they are absolutely committed on that. So this is just active in Italy, so it's a pilot.
Yeah.
I hope that it can be a success story to be used even all around the globe. So aside the incentive given by this kind of support, what those who make efforts need is to be recognized, to be rewarded, to see that what they have done is shown and becomes a part of the communication that is done towards the clients.
Perfect. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Ines, you have a leading tour operator company, a destination management company, in essence. And I noticed you're Biosphere certified, as well as you have a program called Green and Human Program. Can you just give us some insights of the sustainability work that your company is doing and what impacts you're seeing from that?
Well, thank you, Glenn, and thank you to the organization and to the Consejo of Mallorca for having me today. I will try to do in English and preserve the freshness of the conversation, because normally this kind of explanation I am better in Spanish. But in any case, well, our group is, as you said, is one of the leading Italian group. I don't know why you have seated together the Italian section.
Stick together. Yeah.
There's a theme.
And we have, well, it's composed by the tour operator, which is the core business, an airline composed by 787 and 737 aircraft. We have a total of 15 aircraft. And a small hotel chain with near 25 properties, mainly in Italy, but also in Madagascar, in Maldives, in Zanzibar, in Cape Verde, in destination looked by the Italian clients, and also the international division, which is Jumbo Tours. And the group is really committed with the sustainability. We really have in our goals, and the best ways to prove that is in our goal is that is part of our salary, or the way they value our salary, our variable payment is through what we are doing also in terms of sustainability. In a certain moment, and was precisely during the pandemic, we realized that we were doing, as all the companies here, and we have many examples that we saw today, we are doing individual actions that have individual impact on what we are trying to transform, which is the activity of the tourism industry. This was a thought combined to the fact that we were receiving a lot of attack in many destinations for the well, what normally in Spain we call turismophobia, which is the reaction created in the general public when they feel that the tourism is just receiving or removing value from the destination and not bringing back value, no? And we realize also that this individual movement, whether from companies or the government, are always done top down. We try to understand the world affecting to our business, or the world affecting to our territory, and the responsibility that the government has. And if you analyze the global picture, you realize that only 20% average. In Spain, it's even less. Is composed by or is created by the big companies and the big organization. And the big part is the small size and medium size companies. They don't have the capacity and they don't have the means. I'm not trying to put them in a weak position for small and medium sized company, but they have different challenges. And for them, it's quite more difficult to try to transform their activity. They already have a big challenge being viable and trying to maintain their economy alive. To already have, or on top of that, have to think about the sustainability. But the big reality here is this: that if we don't make this value chain to understand that it's completely necessary to transform the industry, transform their activity, their individual activity, to become more sustainable. Mostly what we are doing in the top level, let me say this way, in the level of the big size companies and organizations, unfortunately, we won't be enough. Won't be enough, and it's quite late or we don't have the time to think how we can convince them. And regulation is not enough. Regulation is good, but for them, it's another challenge. Last year, only in Spain, we had more than 800 new rules in sustainability for companies, not for the tourist industry, fortunately, was globally. But can you imagine in a small company of 5 employees trying to follow this?
Yeah.
It's almost impossible, no?
Yeah.
So the idea of Green and Human came to us. Fortunately, we very rapidly found the interest of big companies that they are keen to mentoring this project. And we found it together with Apple Leisure Group, now part of Hyatt, with Viajes El Corte Inglés, one of the leading travel agencies group in Spain, and Alpitur. We founded Green and Human. And Green and Human, basically, very quick, is trying to democratize the knowledge and the capacity of the big companies to involve the medium-sized and small-sized companies to participate in the transformation.
Right.
And bringing them not only this knowledge, but also the means, the technology, and the capabilities that the big company have.
That's very well said. And then picking up on that, what you just talked about is being more contributory to the community that we do business in. And that's one of the fundamental tenets of net positive hospitality is people, planet, place, and prosperity. Place, shifting gears a little bit. And for the audience, we'll just talk a little bit about the destination and what business and the relationship we have with destination management organizations or communities and how we can better work together within that solution. And maybe I'll look to JoAnna to talk about, you're looking at a lot of local, you mentioned it in your first answer about local sourcing. Maybe give us some more insight about, what can local communities do to help support you and your endeavors and your business in order to better facilitate local sourcing.
Thank you, Glenn. And first of all, the leadership of the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance is really critical in helping align what it is that all of these folks need to be following to support destinations and to support the hospitality industry overall. And as you rightly said, the challenge is getting that information to those folks that are local, right? And helping them understand what role they can actually play in that. There's a couple of key things. One of which is, as we've heard from other speakers, there is great attraction in that local story. And the artisans, the manufacturers who are locally based do have a big story to tell. And many of them are actually engaged in sustainable practices. They just don't have the resources to tell that story. And so part of what can happen locally is for these destination management organizations is to get the word out to the community and help educate those local manufacturers to, and maybe provide the templates, the support from a marketing standpoint to get that story across. And the reason that's so powerful is because what typically happens when it comes to the building and refurbishment of hotels is that you're working with design firms. That design firm may not be locally based, right? And they may not have access to the knowledge of what could be happening locally. The same is true for the purchasing company, right? The purchasing company's job is to help meet that CapEx budget goal. And so they've got a network of manufacturers who they've vetted to ensure that those products are going to perform in the hotel the way they need to. The supply chain is, they're not going to run into supply chain disruptions, so that hotel can open on time, right? And they don't have that local knowledge. So I think that's a really important role that local destination management organizations can play in making that information available to those various stakeholders. The other piece of it is working on innovative solutions to support the challenge of circularity. And to give you an example, in California, there has been regulatory regulations in place for quite some time that carpet can't end up in a landfill. Okay, great, we all buy into that, right? So where does the carpet go? So all of the carpet manufacturers in the US are based in the Southeast. So the original initiative was, let's just ship all the carpet back to the Southeast where they can work with that material and turn it into carpet that's made of recycled materials. Great in theory, but it's quite expensive to distribute that product clear across the country, right? So what ended up happening was a collaboration occurred between carpet manufacturers. So talk about that pre-competitive cooperation, right? They all recognize they have the same problem. And they came together with the state of California to fund a local facility that can actually take back the carpet and convert it into new carpet in the state of California. So it's initiatives like that where you're bringing together public initiatives, private initiatives to solve these problems and to understand that there are some complications in that supply chain journey that have to be resolved in order for these solutions to come
It's
to
really
fruition.
important that the DMO really understands the value and supply chain that a hotel has to
Absolutely.
operate on a day-to-day basis
Absolutely.
and take hold of that. And Sarah, picking up on that, thinking about net positive hospitality, how do you apply that within the Best Western Group effectively within, like I say, your interdependent network of operators across the country?
Yeah, we move giving to the overall group generally the idea of the conduct code that they have to follow, and we provide the framework that variably on how their governance is done and how their resources are, they can take step in the path to the positive hospitality way. So it's a tool generated, created, working together with the Alliance. It's an ambitious tool. Not fitting for any needs, any sides of corporation needs, but for sure adaptable with the clever view of who is managing the company, the group, the country, to understand where is the point to get in and what can be taken in consideration. Even having access to the knowledge that the Alliance put at disposal for all the members. We joined the Alliance 1 year ago. Well, I'm proud, I've very proudly promoted the participation for the global organization. And we found in the experience of all major brands like Radisson being there since the beginning, really knowledge, experience, practice that allow us to be quicker for the benefit of all the community, of the overall community. And so really the pre-competitive cooperation has a great value, and not just for the company themselves, but for the world.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. And as how does your business really connect with the community that you operate within to move forward your approach on this sort of net positive thinking?
Well, first of all, I want to be part of the Alliance because all of them seems to be very
Yes,
happy.
we're closing the deal right after the meeting here, didn't we? Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. That's right.
Well, coming back to your question, well, I have to say that the role of a DMC, destination management company, is basically to be in contact with the value chain. So at the end of the day, we have to base all the strategies on the relationship with our stakeholders. You know, it's impossible to think in building properly a destination. I mean, commercially, in terms of content, but also in terms of sustainability, without having a close conversation with your partners. And the problem arrives here, so that you need to educate, you need to convince, you need to explain very well the reason why they need to change the mentality, why they have to cooperate individually in transforming the destination in a global project, aligned, not just following their instinct, that sometimes it's not just a question of goodwilling, it's a question of following certain rules. So in our case, it's a mix. We try to convince by proving that is something that at the end eventually will be beneficial for them in the business. We are approaching very much the company under the point of view of the social part of the sustainability. This is the part they understand better, how they live with their neighbor, how they live with their employees, how they can involve the entire organization in the chain of culture. And normally, under this approach, they understand better than when you speak about environment. Because when you start speaking about environment, they think that, cruise line, airlines, all of them are doing a lot of things. What can I do from my small business of souvenirs in Palma Nova? No? So we are trying to explain that it's a question of cultural mentality change, and it's necessary that we cooperate all together. I think that I met Dirk a few months ago, and I think I must say that that was we fall in love each other very quickly. in terms of
Tell us more.
In terms of how we see the situation, and he told me something that I am repeating. Sorry, but I took for myself, and I am repeating everywhere, that the destination is where the synergy get implemented. And it's true. It's the way of making the things happen.
Yeah.
And it's by little, but it's the only way to build something.
Yeah.
And this is precisely why created Green and Human is the purpose of Green and Human. For me, it's very, very powerful when I say, okay, Iberia, that has started in the organization in Green and Human 1 month ago. Iberia has a very deep knowledge. Portaventura is part of this. They are in B Corp. They have been doing the non-financial annual report for more than 15 years. So they are very experienced in this, and they are very experienced in knowing how this is affecting all the stakeholders locally and globally. No, and I think this is a value message for them, that we bring this knowledge to the small and medium-sized companies, which is the way for them to get involved.
Yeah, fabulous. You know, I have to say it was a huge honor this morning for me to hear Chief Frank Antoine and then just recently hear Ellen Walker Matthews, and I see Mike Oberend here as well from TOTA. So it was almost like going old home week, seeing the previous place I lived. But with that, we did a lot of investment in data as a destination, and to think that data would be helpful to business and such. And I'm thinking, Inge, from your perspective, you know, we need to work closer together as industry and communities around data and or tools or resources. Is there anything from your perspective, you know, whether the data that you're collecting that might be helpful to communities or vice versa, that that would be much more applicable? So it just give it a little sense of what you think would be appropriate from a data or tool perspective.
Yes, first let me say that it's really an honor to be here with so many destinations in the room, because it doesn't happen very often that we can travel to one place and see the world. So that is actually great. So it's an honor to be here. I know data is not the most sexy subject, but we heard this morning that it's also about transparency, and it's also about how you collect data, how you measure things in the right way, and then how you tell that story. You use the data to tell that story to your guests and maybe to the other businesses in the destination to get them on board. So what I would say from a hospitality industry perspective, there's actually a lot already there. So we are ready to give that to all of you and to see if it is relevant. So, and I'm saying hospitality industry, but I'm also meaning the bigger system around hospitality. For example, if you're talking about data, I know the gentleman of Booking is in the room. We saw the Booking study before. There's a lot of data from Booking, from Expedia on how much travelers want to book sustainable. But then, of course, the crux of the matter is how much do they book sustainable? And we heard this morning 2%. I hope we can push that percentage up with certain specific labels and tools we have. But we're also going to do a syndicated study in the hospitality industry to see what the drivers are to convert and how ready are people to actually book sustainable. So that is also going to come and ready to be shared with the world. I think an important one to note is that the industry came together many years ago. I don't know if it was, I think it's certainly 10 years ago, to define how a footprint of a hotel is measured in terms of carbon and in terms of water. And those tools are freely available to any hotel. They're on the SHA website. It's acronyms, I'm sorry. It's HCMI, so Hotel Carbon Measurement Initiative, and HWMI, so Hotel Water Measurement Initiative. But the good thing is we all measure in the same way. So you can actually give those tools to hotels in a destination, small lodging properties, and it's easy to use. They can do it in the same way. And we can syndicate that data. And the good news, better news even, the data is available. There is by Cornell University, there's actually a platform where all this data is collected. And so any destination can go there and see what is the average water footprint, what is the average carbon footprint of a typical hotel in my destination. How do we compare? Can we be better? Can we set targets maybe based on that syndicated data that is already available? And then there's more. There is a Green Lodging Trends report, which is actually a collection of 27,000 hotels who reported what they are already doing on sustainability. So it's 70 questions, also checking on hotel sustainability basics, but much more. That is also available to you. So you can go out and check, maybe for your destination, for your country, what do the hotels already do and which best practices actually exist? Because if you have the best practices available in some places, in some hotels, in your destination, it's very easy for you to be the catalyst as a destination to share that with everyone in that destination. That's just a few things. There's also a waste measurement methodology. There's a net zero methodology that we all defined, not as Radisson, but together with partners in the SHA collectively. So we all agree on how it needs to be done, and it's actually all available with also partners like you and WTO, very important player in validating that everything is right, that we can give this to the destinations also to use. So there's a lot there.
It's a lot there.
Yeah.
Does anybody else want to pick up on the data question at all?
I'll address as well. So very similar. When we created the framework we use, it was a multi-stakeholder engagement process that included brands and design firms and purchasing companies and 27 different manufacturers of furniture, fixture, equipment, products. And it follows the global sustainability standards from the CDP, the WRI, the GRI, et cetera, fair labor practices and human rights and the like. So the power of what the information that we're amassing provides a roadmap for manufacturers to understand where they are in their journey relative to expectations, relative to others in their category, as well as providing insights for innovative solutions that are doing everything from waste reduction to even helping to reduce the carbon footprint. And in that, simplified, but the supply chain scope 1 and scope 2 emissions are hotels scope 3 emissions. And one of the big challenges that has existed out there is getting our arms around what is the embodied carbon of products. And what is available that's far more cost effective and much easier for manufacturers to implement is tracking what the energy use is in their manufacturing facilities, understanding what their energy source is, and then providing them insights and frankly, access to knowledge or even financial resources to implement practices or access renewable energy. And those are things that are supporting local community in a very big way. So as we continue to grow and work on more projects globally, this data will become increasingly available in the supply chain.
So exciting. It's really exciting what's happening there.
Glenn,
Inge,
very,
yeah,
very, very
please.
quick. Is just to point out that this data is knowledge, and knowledge for the small size companies is very powerful. We, since the very beginning of Green and Human, we involve Biosphere as our partner for methodology.
Right.
Okay, because at the end you have to bring someone on board with the proper knowledge, and we gave a very powerful tool to the small and medium-sized company, because they have a way of understand by implementing or fulfilling some information in the platform. They know where they are. We are evolving on this idea, and we are trying to create a big platform where all the knowledge of those companies, all the experience, all the data, but also the regulation is present in the platform. So those companies that normally they don't pay attention, they have an excuse to feel encouraged to enter in the platform and see how they are aligned or not with the sustainability. And this is something that we are test driving now with, I have to say that out of the 110 members that we have today in Green and Human, only 40% are big companies, which are very important and is the first stage. But 60% is small and medium-sized companies that are giving us let me say this way, the test drive for understanding if the theory that we have will work when all the value chain is involved in the platform.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So did you, yeah?
Another small thought about the selection that the destination management can do of specific indicators and data, instead of leaving the operators free and autonomous in selecting the certification, the label, the method to follow. Because in this case, really, sometimes the small operator in particular, they don't have the competencies to choose and to select what is the best. And there is to follow the tools that has been better sold by any commercial in the market. So if there is a suggestion, really it's better for everybody, and the data that come out, they are comparable, they can be really the benchmark, and they can really be the next goal to follow. So it seems to limitate the freedom of operators, but sometimes it's probably the better way to build a story together.
Very, very interesting and very cool. So last question for everyone. You know, what call of action would you like to see happen from the business community to destinations to really contribute to our success as an industry to achieve what we are trying to, what we're talking about right here around this notion of sustainability and net positive? What can communities really do for the industry to help us make this happen? And I'll go to JoAnna first, I guess, if I can.
Well, what comes to mind first is really follow the money. And we've got to figure out a way to align the goals of destinations with the financial community, and understand that it's a journey. But you know, as a practical example, when you think about the CapEx that goes into hotel interiors, we worked on a project recently, it's a $90 million budget. I mean, that's real money we're talking about. And when they're looking at their cost structure, they're going to look at the guest rooms as, you know, the biggest component of that and the most product that's needed. And there, it may not be available to them to have as high an emphasis on sustainability attributes in every choice that they're making. So how do we make stepwise progress, and how do local communities support that and celebrate that and recognize that, so that incentive is there? So part of it is really understanding what the challenges are that the hotel owners and operators are facing, and find solutions that give them a stepwise approach that works within that budgetary framework. For example, focusing on the public areas where they can find some smaller, you know, items. Maybe it's 6 chairs, for example, or maybe it's a particular piece that is a reflection of that local community, allows that statement to be made. Well, there's continued work and evolution happening in a global supply chain that is more price competitive, for example.
Yeah, makes total sense, total sense. Ines, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, for me, we have 3 principles which are completely necessary. One is generosity. Big companies and big organizations have to be generous with the knowledge and the capabilities, the capacities that they have, and share this. In sustainability, we don't compete. And this is something that we need to understand very clearly. We are not competing. If you take what you are investing for sustainability and you consider that is innovation that you have to preserve for you as a competitive value, you are in a big mistake, because at the end, the final goal is bigger than the success of your own business. Second one is education. We need to educate very well to all the stakeholders in the industry, the big one, the governments, and also the small one. Ancelotti, the coach, when lately something happened with the ugly incident with the racing in the football, he said, sanctions is not enough. You need to educate to the public. You have to explain where is wrong and why is wrong, and how this is affecting negatively to the society. And this is what we need to understand. And education goes in both directions. For the companies, we need to educate the company, understand why we are creating reaction in the society, and why we need to work on this to co-live better with the society. And also to the society, we have to explain better with fact, all the data we were selling. With fact, we have to explain better. And finally, money.
Yeah.
The question of money.
Money, exactly. Sarah, did you want to pick up?
Kind of general involvement, all verticals of all kind of operators in the strategic management process. So in defining the vision, and in setting the roadmap, because asking something at the end of all the decision, when decision have been taken, is like oblige somebody to do something without having listened in before. So really, it's a matter of governance of the strategic process, first of all. It's not easy. Each operator represents really different opinions. Sometimes operators seems to be resistant, but again, it's a matter of involvement since the beginning, and sometimes of resources and facilitation that in the public finance we can sometimes find with a great, breadth for the operators themselves.
Yes. Thanks, Sarah. And Inge, final word?
Wow. Yeah, I would say for a large international company like us, the destiny, we can set policies, we can set targets, we can facilitate, we can provide tools to our hotels, but in the end, it's a big network of SMEs. So the destination is where the action happens. And that's why it's not just like that for us, but it's like that for all our competitors who we know, and we are trusted partners in associations like the SHA. So I would say to the destinations here, we really need you as partners and catalysts, because there are things we need to do together. In some destinations, we may have from Radisson 1 hotel, we may have 5, we may have 10, but there will be Accor and Iberostar and Hilton and all the other brands will also be there. So we need you to work to help us to, for example, pool volumes and facilitate renewable energy projects. We need you to work on innovation together on, for example, generation of energy out of bio-waste. We may not be able to do that in one hotel, but we could do it maybe all together. We can work together on waste infrastructure. We can work together on biodiversity restoration. And you can do that and facilitate that and be the catalyst at the destination level. You have our ear, you have the association, we are trusted partners. And you know how they say that the one who wants to move fast needs to move alone, and the one who wants to move far has to move together. But we need to move fast and far. So we need each other. So let's collaborate.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you for all your leadership here for the last hour. I hope everyone got something out of this in terms of what the industry, as I mentioned before at the beginning, this is about sending a strong market signal to the destinations, to government who are thinking about, there's this whole discussion about more regulation, less regulation. I think what we're trying to say here is the industry is ready to be at the table for those conversations to move those things forward, because as we all talked about, we all realize as well, time is in fact running out, and we need to make some bold action collectively in order for this to actually be achieved. So thank you for your wisdom, and thank you for all the ideas that came out of this, and we look forward to the rest of the day and tomorrow. So thank you. Thank you.